There might be some other people hopping in, but we're gonna get going. Um, as we go tonight, we're gonna play a game. Those of you who are familiar with my First Chapter Fridays might recognize this game, but it's kind of like the mystery quote. I'm gonna have a message. It's not going to be hidden, but it's going to be in these bright green words, and it's going to be throughout the whole presentation, just kind of scattered about. So if you write those green words down, it's going to spell out a message. And then when we're all done, I'll have you message it to me or email it to me, and then I'll give you a prize. So we are practicing what we preach here as far as working on having student engagement. And tonight, y'all get to be my students. So what are we going to do? We are going to focus on leveling up your students' engagement and achievement in repeatable ways. We are going to fill up your lesson planner with high quality, ready to go resources. And we're going to give you all the tools that you need to be successful in this tough task of teaching. So let us hop right to it. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about the last amazing reading experience that you had. So maybe you were on vacation, sitting by a pool at the beach. Maybe it's like your cozy chair in your living room with your coffee. Think about, like, were you holding a hardcover or a Kindle? Maybe you were listening to an audiobook. I want you just to think about that experience, identify a couple of key factors about it, and then put those in the chat. I'm curious, like, what makes a reading experience amazing for you? And if you're playing the game, this is your first word right here. Laying in bed with 12 pillows. I love that. That's really great because then you can like prop everything up. Not being interrupted, that's super important. Ooh, another in-bed reader and silence. Great. Yes. When we think about a comfy chair. Yes, for sure. And I would take Diet Pepsi over tea, but everybody gets to pick, right? It's a judgment-free zone. When we think about when we ask our students to read, oftentimes these things like the pillows and the comfy chair and like the beverage, like that stuff isn't there. Like we often ask them to read in an industrial strength plastic chair or on the cement floor with like this much carpeting. Or we ask them to read a lit circle book that was the last choice available because we just simply ran out of copies of the one they actually wanted to read. Or we ask them to read right after lunch when they're feeling super sleepy. And I know that we don't have control over all of those things. I know that we can't all just like post up in lazy boys and eat popcorn every time we open a book in our classroom, but there are things that we can do to make it more fun and enjoyable for students. And that's a huge part of my mission and why I do what I do. And it's a big part of what we're going to talk about today. So I just wanted to ground us in this great reading experience. And so we can keep that in mind as we go through. Here's another thing I want to point out that is kind of a bummer for all of us, but our students are used to being entertained, like constantly. They are used to having somebody do a song and dance for them, always changing things up, always doing something to capture and grasp their attention. And that's a lot of work for us to either maintain or to compete with. And I know that we're not highly paid celebrities. And I also know that some people kind of roll their eyes at the idea of edutainment, that they don't want to do a song and dance for their lesson. They don't want to make their classroom or their lessons Instagram worthy. And the thought of having to do that can feel kind of scary for them. But what's even scarier to me is a room full of students who are disengaged and not learning. Like that to me is the worst thing. I know that when you're thinking about trying to do all the things that you need to do, both at school and at home, it can be a lot and it can be overwhelming. And so I'm here to help you, and hopefully together we can make this whole thing a little easier and a little bit more fun. The other thing is that we're competing with what society is telling us, and society is often saying that teachers need to stop whining, that they need to work harder, just do more with less, and you need to save us all by educating the next generation. It is so much pressure. The job of teaching has changed so much over the past few decades. And it's a lot to contend with. And usually all our students are telling us is, I'm bored. And that's hard too, because when our students are bored, they're off task. They resort to entertaining themselves. They miss out on key lesson concepts. They skip the practice activities. They perform poorly on assessments. They're unmotivated to succeed. And oftentimes they don't even see the connection between what we're doing in school and their real life. And the bottom line is that when students are bored, it makes our job harder. Okay. So I want to help you with that. And why should I be the one to help you with that? Because I have been where you are. I have been in the trenches trying to teach and grade the papers and plan the lessons and attend the meetings and build the student relationships and go home tired to still then also have to manage a household and run a carpool without cloning myself and feed everybody something for dinner. And it can feel like a lot. But together, if we're going to work on this together, we can do it better and we can make everything easier and more manageable. And that's a huge goal of what we're going to talk about tonight. So I want to start by telling you a story because I had this huge realization that not every lesson had to be my own painstakingly birthed brainchild, right? Like back in the day, teachers were like, this is my lesson and my class, and I don't want to share my ideas with anybody else because it's like a lot of pride and ownership over what I do. But when I realized that I didn't have to come up with everything all on my own, it was super freeing. So once upon a time, I was teaching a basic reading class. I had a group of sixth graders. They all read at like the fourth grade level. They were farm kids and military kids and athletes and the fourth kid in a family of six. And even though they were all really different, they all struggled to read. And so I thought if I could teach them their Greek and Latin roots, like the roots and the prefixes and the suffixes, if they could know these basic building blocks of words, it would help them out a ton, not only in my class, but also in their other content areas, especially like in science. But the idea of working on these baby bite-sized pieces of words was super unappealing to my students. And if I'm totally honest, it was kind of unappealing to me. But I knew it would work. So I just had to figure out how. So I went to Google, which led me to Pinterest, which led me to Teachers Pay Teachers, which led me to this amazing unit called the Reading Olympians. And it took 100 roots and prefixes and suffixes, and it broke it down into groups of 10. And then it had all these amazing practice activities. Like we would do games and we would do these rhymed raps and interactive matching activities. And then they would take this quiz. And if they got them right, then they would level up. And it was all mythologically themed. So they would maybe start out as the god Apollo, and then when they passed level 1 quiz, then they would level up to Athena, and then when they passed that quiz, then they'd level up to Poseidon, and eventually they'd work their way all the way up to Zeus. And as we were doing this unit, two things happened. Number one, my kids learned their root words and they improved their reading skills, which was amazing. The second thing was that they had a good time. And suddenly coming to reading class wasn't quite so bad. In fact, it was maybe even a little bit fun and something they looked forward to, which then just helped us have an even better rest of the year. When I think back about this unit, the thing that sticks out to me the most in my reflection is that I didn't make that unit. I found it. It would have taken me weeks to research it, to organize it, to build it, to get all the pretty printables, all the things. And I didn't have weeks. At the time, I was a newbie teacher. I was coaching gymnastics and I had an infant at home. I didn't have weeks. I barely had hours. But because I was going to allow somebody else to help me with this, I was able to accomplish my task. My students were able to learn great things. And it was amazing. So I just want to give you that permission to know that you don't have to do this all by yourself. You don't have to rely on random Googling. How many times have you gone to the internet looking for something amazing and just spent a bunch of time and didn't find anything, and all you ended up with was wasted time? Okay. I also think about like, what if I were too tired to search on the internet? Or what if I entered the wrong search terms and I couldn't find anything? Or what if teachers pay teachers and Pinterest didn't exist? Or what if they go away? Like, what are we gonna do then? Are we gonna rely what's ever in the filing cabinet? Like, that's a terrible strategy too. So you don't have to rely on these things. You don't have to rely on these strategies anymore. We can work together to do something even better. How are we going to do this, you might ask? It's a three-step process. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to plan. We're going to identify strategies that work, strategies that our students love. We're going to plug them into our calendar on a routine basis, and we're going to teach them. And then once we've figured out what works, we're going to just repeat it again and again and again. Now, there is a step 4 to this process. Once we get everything in place and that step 4 is modified, we can make changes and brief tweaks and just little shifts in the things that in the way that we do the repeated things to keep them fun and fresh for our students. But this process is one that works, and it saves you a ton of time and stress. So here, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of high interest strategies that work that you can then repeat. And there's all sorts of good things that happen when we do that. So a few of you are not new to me, so you already probably know this strategy, but just in case somebody here is new and they don't, First Chapter Fridays is when you introduce a book to a student. You tell them, you show them the cover, you tell them a little bit about the author, you read the blurb. And usually when we talk with students about books, that's where it ends. And it's pretty easy for kids to say, nope, no thanks, I don't want to read that book. But then we take it one step further and we do the thing that kids wouldn't do on their own. And we read the first chapter to them. And usually when students do that, when they give it a try, when they get hooked by the character or the plot or the situation that's happening, then they want to read the book, and then they will do more of it. And I have teachers message me all the time saying that I can't get enough copies of my First Chapter Friday books because my kids are fighting over who gets to have it first, and they're just flying off the shelves. And wouldn't that be amazing to have happen in your classroom? When you pair them with some of the student engagement activity or worksheets that I have ready to go, it means that our students are focused and paying attention and doing something while they are listening to the reading and not just zoning out as they often do when a screen is on. So if you can level this up even more by if you use my videos and the worksheets that I already have for you, then you can actually just take a break for a minute. You could actually take attendance or check an email or just take a breath. You could do that. Another example would be Trivia Tuesday, or just a brain break any day. A lot of times the tasks that we ask our students to do are heavy mental lifting, and they just get tired and they want to do something fun. And this is a great way to do that because it's a game. We're kind of sneaking them, tricking them into learning a little bit, because when you do these trivia videos, they're building lots of great background knowledge. There's also over 300 words in every trivia game that they're either reading on screen or on the printed answer sheets, which is like a full page of text. So if you said, okay, I'm going to ask my students to read these random facts in a full page of text, or they can play this game, but both ways they're going to get 300 words of reading in. I'm pretty sure I know which one the students are going to pick. The other great thing about this is that it builds great classroom camaraderie. You can set it up as a competition and a leaderboard that you keep track of all the scores on, and the kids, they just love it. And now when you have First Chapter Fridays and Trivia Tuesdays, you've got two things automatically built into your week that you know what is happening, and you don't have to plan them. And they're things that your students are looking forward to and they're wanting to do. So we're making your life easier. We're doing things that the students want to do. And everybody's wanting to show up to class, you included. So these are just a couple of examples of ways we can make this happen. Forgot to say this at the beginning, but I'm giving you a freebie tonight just for showing up. because I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your time with me. And so the freebie that I'm going to email you after we are all done is another example of how you can take a regular recurring activity in your class and make it even better. So instead of doing your boring old, hi, I'm your teacher, and this year in sixth grade ELA, we're going to cover, and I really like Diet Pepsi and Swedish Fish, tell me 2 facts about you. You can do the superhero origin introduction activity. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your resume and a brief little bio that you write, and you're going to take it over to Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or any other AI generating website, and you're going to enter them in with a very specific prompt. And the prompt is in the directions, but basically it just says, write my origin story. And use my work emails and this information you have from me to create a personal brand that highlights my best skills. And I'm not kidding you, when you put it in with that prompt, it spits out this amazing thing that you see here on the page. When I did it, it dubbed me the word weaver. My catchphrase is unlocking minds one syllable at a time. It gave me an origin story. It gave me 5 superhero powers that I possess. And I just think that this would be so much more fun for your students, a fun way for them to learn about you rather than, just tell the random facts that we often do. Also in the activity, it's going to give you the printables, the template, so you can take the information and put it into that template you saw on the last slide. You can also put them into slides, have them for you here. I also have instructions for students to repeat this activity. There's 2 different sets of instructions. One, if you want to teach them how to responsibly use AI and use a computer, or if you just prefer old school stuff and you just want to do it on paper and pencil, you can do that as well. But when I think about what we usually ask our students to talk about when they come back to school after the summer is oftentimes, what did you do this summer? And even though we're not trying to, that is a really fast way to call out the haves and the have-nots in the room. Some of our students are talking about these amazing trips that they went on and all these vacations and, this great stuff. And no offense to them, but there's lots of other people in the room who didn't get those opportunities, and now they feel bad about what they have to share. And that's kind of a crappy place for us to start our year all together. So if we do this instead, students can lean into their strengths. They can talk about what they're good at. And that is a much more level playing field for all of us to start building a community in a classroom together at. So I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be really, really fun. A great way to shake things up. You could post these, on a bulletin board, like all the students make theirs and you post them up there. You could hand out yours at your Meet the Teacher or orientation night as a fun way to introduce yourself to students and parents. There's so many great ways we could do this. So I will email you this after we are all done, just as a thank you for being here. Okay, I want you to take a minute and think back to that amazing reading experience that you had. And I'm willing to bet that if I gave you the chance, a bunch of us would be like, yes, please, I want to go back there right now. And what I want you to learn from this memory, what I want you to take away from that conversation we had a little bit about great reading experiences and comparing that to what we ask our students to do, is that the treasure is in the pleasure. I want us to think about how we as teachers can create moments that our students enjoy so much that they want to do them again and again, that they actually want to come to class. Because when we can do that, not only are we winning, but our students are winning. And that's why we all got in this game in the first place. I also want us to think a little bit about edutaining and to stop rolling our eyes about it, because the fact of the matter is it's effective. If we meet our students where they are at with something that they want, it's going to go better for everybody. And we can do our educating without shaming, without scolding, without highbrowing, without any snobbery. And it's more effective. It's going to be great. You might say, okay, Amanda, I'm on board. I hear what you're saying. You can stop saying the same thing because I'm in, but I just don't know how to make that happen. And my answer to you for that is with some advice that I learned from my mom. And to explain that, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story because I love stories. Um, Once upon a time, my mom and my sister and I, that's a couple pictures of us, we wanted to go on vacation. My sister found out that she had some extra vacation days, and she's like, I've already done the family thing, I've already done the couples getaway thing, like let's do a girls weekend. And so we were like, okay, let's go. Where do we want to go? And we started thinking about it. And my mom's retired, my dad's retired. So my mom had to do was stock the fridge full of food, and she was easy cheesy free to go. But I have two kids, both in after school activities. My husband teaches full time and he also coaches college baseball. And so I had like those two schedules to contend with, but it was nothing compared to my sister because she has four kids. And at the time they were all under the age of 6. And the thought of her figuring out everything in order to leave them behind for 4 days was a lot. And then we also had the airline schedules to contend with and a list of like desired vacation wish lists. And when we spread out like all the details on the table, it kind of felt like we were trying to solve a cold case murder instead of just trying to go away on vacation for 4 days. And we almost gave up. My mom said 5 words that have since become our family mantra, and it is, you can if you plan. You can if you plan. We can figure this out. And so we did. We figured out people to cover for us at work. We figured out childcare arrangements. We figured out the best airline plan because we were coming from 2 different cities as well. So like there was like some details that we had to figure out with that. And dates and VRBOs, like they're like all the things. But my mom was right. You can if you plan, and we were able to go. So we went to Folly Beach, right outside of Charleston in South Carolina, and we had an amazing time. And the real lesson of this was that once we figured out how to do it one year, it was so much easier to repeat the next year. And we went again and again and again. And this fall we'll be going for our 4th time because you can if you plan. And then once you do that thing, it's super easy to repeat it because you've already figured it out. So those are the things that I want you to take away. Like, why am I telling you these stories? Because I want you to know that you can create enjoyable experiences in your classroom. There is power in edutainment, and we should really lean into that. And it is possible because you can if you plan. All right. I want you to put on your pretend hat with me here for just a second, and I want you to do some imagining. I want you to imagine waking up on Monday morning feeling good about the week ahead. I want you to imagine walking into a classroom full of students who are excited to be there. I want you to imagine having students squabble over who gets to read a book first. And I want you to imagine watching your students light up when they talk about the books. I want you to imagine having 24/7 access to high quality, ready to go resources that your students love. I want you to imagine having the opportunity to learn new strategies without having to go to a full day of PD. Like anybody, that just sounds so good to me. I want you to imagine feeling more calm and confident and satisfied about your career. Imagine leaving school feeling like you still have gas in the tank, like getting into your car after school and not feeling like you need a nap before you drive home, or not wondering if it's easier to make sub plans than it is to show up the next day. I don't want that for you. I want you to imagine being able to leave school at school and allowing you to use your nights and weekends for personal purposes and things that bring you joy. I want you to have all of these things. And I also want you to know that it is possible, and that I can help you get there because I've made something amazing. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to show you. So it is called the Word Nerd Collaborative, and it is a membership where we can work together to reclaim teacher time, increase student engagement, and have fun in the classroom. So there are 5 components to this membership. The first one is access to the Word Nerd Collaborative website, which is basically a resource hub. It has everything that I've ever made, all. in one spot and you can have all of it. I know that sounds kind of like a lot and perhaps it could be overwhelming. So each month, I'm also going to make you a pre-planned monthly calendar that will have 5 brain breaks, or sorry, 5 First Chapter Fridays, 5 brain breaks, one for every week of the month. It's going to have a writing prompt every single day. It's going to have a couple of multi-day lesson plans, and also a few other additional resources, like all in a neat and tidy 100+ page PDF, links, slides, printables, rubrics, video links, like everything that you need, all there, one calendar ready to go. I'm going to teach you how to use that. So once a month, when that new calendar comes out, I'm going to have a Zoom session where you can show up and I'll walk you through everything. I'll book talk the books. I'll teach you how to do the lessons. I'll answer any questions you have, making it as easy cheesy as possible for you to implement it in your classroom. We're going to have some lunch bunch Zooms. So on the last Friday of every month, we're going to have a lunch bunch. And I don't know if you ever did this as a kid, but my sister and I loved it. We would ride our bikes to the public library in the summer, one day a week. We'd pack our little bag lunches, our little lunch boxes. Probably weren't bag lunches. It was probably like a plastic closable lunch box, like the box ones, you know. I think mine was Care Bears. But anyways, we'd show up at the library, we'd sit on the floor, and then the librarian would read out loud to us while we ate our lunch, and it was amazing. And I thought we should do that, but virtually, and we should invite the authors to come. So of the First Chapter Fridays that are planned for the month, I've invited those authors to come to our lunch bunches and chat with us, tell us some tips for reading and writing, and then the students can ask questions all while they eat their lunch, and it's going to be so stinking cool. I have 3 authors for August already lined up, and they are Wendelin Van Dranen, who wrote The Running Dream and Wild Bird, Sammy Key's Mysteries, all those great things. Johnny Christmas, who did Swim Team, the graphic novel, and Dan Gemeinhart, who wrote The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise and other things. But that's my favorite book of his. So I'm super excited. And I can hardly believe it, you guys, because in September, Gordon Corman said he's going to come. And I'm kind of losing it because authors are like my A-list celebrities. So it's going to be so great. They're all going to come. And then the last component of the membership is a private Facebook group where we can all hang out together, ask questions, get support, cheerlead, share funny memes, but just a place for us to be able to connect and collaborate and to ask questions. So, super excited about all of this and to give you guys the opportunity to join me for it. So,
Hey, Amanda, Miss Word Nerd.
hang on. Can you hear that? Okay. So, I know that I'm biased because I made it, right? But there are lots of teachers who've been using this nationwide, and they tell me good things all the time. They send me Facebook messages. They leave great reviews on Teachers Pay Teachers. So I'm gonna let them tell you how great it is. This is Jenna. She's someone who's used my resources, and I'm just gonna let her do a little bit of the talking for a minute.
My name is Jenna from North Alabama. I am a 6th grade middle school teacher, and I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that middle schoolers do not agree on anything. And I just wanted to say that your First Chapter Friday resource absolutely changed the way that I teach. This was my first year in middle school, but my 19th year teaching. And those children came into my classroom every Friday, no matter what they were fussing about, as middle schoolers do. They were thrilled to do a First Chapter Friday. Absolutely thrilled. And I cannot thank you enough. I cannot recommend to anyone enough your resource for the First Chapter Friday. It was an absolute game changer. So thank you.
Hey. So I know that it works because I've used these activities and I hear from other teachers all the time that they're really great. So let's talk a little bit about cost and a little bit about value. So if we were to break everything down one by one and look at the value of these things, access to everything on the Word Nerd Collaborative website, the resource hub. If you were to buy everything from my Teachers Pay Teacher store, it would cost over $200. And you're going to get all of that. If we try to put a value to the pre-planned calendar, it's a little bit harder. It's at least $50 worth of resources in that monthly calendar. But the time I'm saving you puts that resource at over $250. If we pretend that we as teachers make $50 an hour, the hour and a half plan with me session would be valued around $75. The monthly author lunch bunch, you guys, to have an author visit your school, even virtually, is hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. And so the fact that you and your students are going to get to chat with them every month, multiple different authors, amazing award-winning authors, it's great. It's totally valuable. And then I don't know what kind of a price tag you would put on meeting new teacher besties, but to me that's priceless. Life is way more fun with friends, and I think that our jobs can be too. So, I want you to stop Googling great lesson plans on Sunday night. I want you to stop giving up your lunch to try and find something on the internet that your students are going to like. I want you to stop just worrying about finding good books. And I want you to join us so that I can help you and that we can help each other do this job even better. I might need just like half a second break here because I kind of got kicked out of my own website. So I'm gonna have to sign in again. My web designer is texting me on the side. So if you need a quick break, go ahead and do that for just a second while I try to sign us in here because I know that's super embarrassing, but you know, it's like, right? This is how it goes.
It's a live session with a real person, everybody.
Right? Okay, we're in. It was a quick fix. My web designer is a brilliant goddess. Her name is Dolly. If you need me to pass her name along so she can build you a website too, that would be, I got that. I got that connection. So, okay, let's look at this site, you guys. It is so stinking cool. And as Amy Porterfield would say, friends, if you've been multitasking, come back to me now. So this is the page that you're going to see when you come to the website. There are all sorts of tabs here across the top, and we're just going to go through them one by one so you can see. And this first one is the one that I am most excited about. Because I know that many of you have access to the Google Doc I've created that lists all the First Chapter Friday videos on my channel with the links and the reading levels and all that kind of stuff. But then you have to like go into the Teachers Pay Teachers product and find the worksheet, and it's a little bit cumbersome and it's not pretty at all. And so I wanted to give you something here. So on this page, you're going to see some like how to get started resources for First Chapter Friday if you're a newbie to this resource. Here right up front are a bunch of materials that you will likely access and use often. So I wanted to have them ready to go and easy to see for you. Your First Chapter Friday planning document as a teacher to help you plan out which books you're going to use, and also student reactions to them. So like year after year, you can be like, oh, students loved this book. Like we definitely got to do this one. And there might be a couple that you were like, you know what, nobody wanted to check this book out after this First Chapter Friday. So that's fine. Not all books are for all people. You can just, take that one out of rotation. There's some tracking charts that your students can use to keep track of which First Chapter Friday books they've listened to. So kind of like a shopping list for when they go to the library. There are some generic response sheets that you can use with any book, no matter what. The mystery quote resource answer sheets are here, as well as author interview ones. But the thing I'm most excited about is when you scroll down here, we will see all 180 books alphabetized and all the information you need to teach them right here up front. So we've got the book cover, the title, the author, the reading levels. We have the genre and the format. There's the video link that will take you directly to YouTube. There's the time, which will tell you how long the video is. It will let you know if there's a mystery quote or an author interview that's included. it will link you directly to the worksheet for that book. So you can just click it and print that one thing. You don't have to hunt through any documents anymore to find it. And then also the link to purchase it on Amazon. So I'm so excited. Huge shout out to Kristen, our Zoom room den mother, because she did a lot, most of this data input for me as a helper. So thank you, Kristen. You can also click these letters up at the top and it will take you directly to those books. So super user friendly. I'm so excited for y'all to get your hands on this and just make it the First Chapter Friday an even easier repeatable strategy in your classroom. The next page that I want to
Quick
talk about.
question in the chat, Amanda. I know
Yeah.
you're going to get to this, I think, next. Can you search by genre or do nonfiction fiction?
Okay, so no, but we can go to this reading recommendation page and I have curated some topical lists for you. So if you are looking for books for a lit circle or you have a student experiencing a certain kind of life event, maybe like a death or a grief, that they need help processing through a character, or you want to tie something to a current event, or you just have a student who's like, I like sports books. Where are the sports books? You can click on any of these titles or these topics up here, or if you're more of a visual learner, I have them all down here. So when you click on an image or a topic up above, it's going to take you to a PDF, and the PDF will have that pretty image right there. And then it's going to have a page that will list out the books and the authors. And then it's also going to have one that shows the book covers, because sometimes for students, that's a more appealing way to choose a book. So you'll get this for all of those topics that were listed. And you can do tons of things with these. You can, pick one or two a month to highlight and to talk about and to post, maybe on a bulletin board, or like next to your classroom library. You could print them all out and put them in a binder for your students to browse. You could hand them over to your librarian so that they can curate some book sets for you. You can use them when you're trying to plan lit circles around certain topics. So tons and tons of different things that you can do with them. But that is the reading recommendation page. Did that answer your question?
I also, she says yes. And then I also made a note about the genre and fiction, nonfiction. That is something we should look into for the website.
Yeah, we should. We should look into fiction, nonfiction. I could also add like just a nonfiction thing here. That could be one thing. If it's like, so for example, in the war section, there might be some nonfiction books in there mixed in with the fiction. But yeah, nonfiction, fiction, definitely something to think about. Thank you, Kenzie. Okay, brain breaks. Similar to the First Chapter Fridays in that I have the links to the YouTube channel and I have the leaderboard here, some things that you might utilize consistently. And then I've got all of the answer sheets here linked for you. So you just click on, the sports trivia and it will take you to the answer sheets for all of the sports trivia videos, and you can then print out the ones that you want. Writing prompts, very similar. Here are resources that you're probably going to use repeatedly: rubrics, peer critique sheets, instrumental playlists on YouTube to listen to while you're writing, some advice from author videos. These three here in the middle, advice from authors, word choice video, and Hemingway app video, are just some tools for you to share with students about writing. And then these are the prompt packs. So each of these first three are 9 weeks worth of writing prompts every single day. And then these second set of 3 are a little bit shorter and more specific, but also filled with prompts. I think the story quotes is 6 weeks. Historical fiction and story dice are more like 2 weeks. But all of those are included for you. This lesson page is another biggie. This is everything I've ever created, ever. All set and ready to go for you. There are some novel units. There are some writing activities. End of the year reading recap. I shared that one out last spring, so that's probably maybe familiar to you. Genre, story elements, the library scavenger hunt, novel soundtrack project, poetry, Newbery, like everything. Everything I've ever made is all in here for you. And when you click that link, you will get the slides, the rubrics, the printables, the video, everything. It's all in there. It's all in there ready for you to roll. Teaching Tips just had some videos about strategies that I've utilized that are great. Things like the Play-Doh strategy or timers, how I teach certain things like story elements or reach reluctant writers, tips for using Zoom. So just a lot of different ideas here for you to spark some energy. And then the last page is the page where we connect. So it'll have the links to the monthly planning session, and the monthly lunch bunches, and then also to our private Facebook group. So when you join the membership, you get all of these things. The next thing that I wanted to show you guys is the pre-planned calendar. So every month I'm going to make a new one of these, and in it we will find, first of all, just an overview of a calendar for the month, so you can write in any specific things that you need to remember or want to cover. And then there will be a first chapter Friday for every month, either 4 or 5, depending on how many Fridays there are in the month. And then also it will tell you who's coming to the lunch bunch. Same thing for the brain breaks. It's going to have 4 or 5, depending on how many Tuesdays there are in a month that you have to do it on a Tuesday. But that's just my measuring stick for how many I'm going to include each month. And then a writing prompt for every day. And then there will be 2 or 3 multi-day lessons that are included in each one. And then also some additional resources. So in the August pre-planned calendar, we have the origin story, the superhero origin story activity for teachers and students, and then also a collective noun practice. It's set up as a mini mystery that takes place in Noun Town. It's really fun. And then the additional resources are the first chapter Friday tracking charts, the motivational quote, it's poster set. So it's 24 full color posters that feature motivational quotes. You could print them, laminate them, and hang them up in your room, and you don't need to decorate anything else. It's easy, cheesy way to make your room a little prettier and more inspirational. And then 2 of the recommendation book lists. So you can see that there's not anything new in this pre-planned calendar that's not already out on the whole website. But if you don't have time to dig through the site to find what it is that you want to teach or know what's timely for that month, I've done all of that work for you. So when we look at this in like a larger grid thing, that was just going through the overview of what's included. But as we go through and we look at the rest of these 129 pages, you'll see you get all the first chapter Friday worksheets, you get all of the brain break answer sheets, the variety of styles of answer sheets, the sheet with the links to go to the videos. When it gets down to the writing prompts, we have the Free Write Friday page. We've got a gem and opportunity page that you can print for your students to give you feedback. We've got the rubric page, and then each day has a printable sheet that you can print out and hand to your students. If you don't want to use that much paper, there's also a slides version link so that you can just show the prompt on a slide and have your students write in their notebook. So I try to do that whenever possible so that you can choose as a teacher what's the best delivery method for you and your students. If we slide down here, we'll see the lesson. So the superhero teacher lesson. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about when we were doing that. Not only can AI generate your origin story and your superhero powers, you take that over to Canva and you put it in their AI image generator, and they will come up with pictures of what you look like as a superhero. And I know right now these are pretty tiny, so you can't super see, but like they did a pretty good job of making me look like a superhero. It was super fun to see what they came up with when I entered in the origin story, and then a few like characteristics like blonde, short, nerd, white, and then they came up with this. So I thought that was really fun. Here's the mini mystery for the library looter, the first chapter Friday tracking sheets, the link to the motivational quote posters. I didn't want to just put all 24 in there. I felt like that was going to take up too much space. So it's just a link there that will then take you to Canva and you can print them. And then also the recommended reading list I picked out for this month, moving to a new school or town and friendship. I felt like those are great book lists to start the school year with. So yeah, that's the pre-planned calendar. So tons of value. I think it's going to be great. I'm excited. So also, if you're still playing along, there's one of your green words. Okay. Next. Okay, then we've also talked about the Zoom session that's going to happen every month, the third Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Crossing my fingers that there won't be a football game that I want to watch at that time, but sometimes we just have to sacrifice for the good of the group. The Facebook group, it's going to be a great place for us to ask questions, to connect, to collaborate. Sometimes it's going to be funny things like a would you rather. Other times it's going to be like lesson plan SOS. What are you doing next week? What do you need? How can we help each other? What ideas do we have? Or like, shout it out Friday faves. What's your favorite pens for grading? Or what's the best lunchbox? The Care Bear plastic one from 1989. That's the answer for that. And then the lunch bunch Zoom. So it's got so much good stuff, and I'm just so excited about all of it. And before I tell you the final price tag and stuff, I just want you to think real quick about all of the ways we waste money. I cannot be the only one who has planned to go home and make dinner, but like stayed at school too long and now there's just not time. And so I have to stop for takeout. And how many times a month do we do that? How much money do we waste because we just don't have time? You guys are all from the Midwest, which we talked about in my last session too. Like sometimes I don't even have time for Culver's. I only have time for Quick Trip, right? My husband says Quick Trip is the best restaurant in town. And people are like, it's not a restaurant. He'll be like, tell me where you spend more money on food. I dare you to name anywhere other than Quick Trip. Cheesy stuffed spuds. Oh my gosh, you guys, they're so good. So how much money do we waste? How much money do we waste doing that? And then I also think about a house cleaner that we sometimes hire because those showers are gross and I don't have time to scrub them. And so then that's money that we're wasting. Or I think about when I go to the grocery store and I buy Uncrustables and like sliced cheese because I don't have time to make sandwiches or sliced cheese or like prepackaged veggies. Like it's expensive, but I don't have time to do those things because I'm stuck at school. Or a gym membership always sounds like a great idea, right? And like especially New Year's resolutions, or I'm gonna go right away after school before I even get home. But like you're so tired that you don't have time for dumbbells and treadmills. You don't have energy for that. And so we're just because we don't have enough time to do all the things we need to do, we're wasting a bunch of money. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to waste that money anymore. Also, we spend a lot of money in our classrooms. The national average is $500 to $750 out of pocket. And I can help you for a whole lot less than that and in a way that's going to be a whole lot more effective. So, here's the deal. You can join the Word Nerd Collaborative for $35 a month, or you can save some money and you can join for the whole year and get a discounted rate. And I really want you to gift yourself that whole year. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things to incentivize this. And I'd say I'm not going to try to sound like an infomercial, but it's just not really possible. It's just going to come out that way. So hopefully you can hang with me and love me anyways. If you buy the whole year, if you join us for the whole year and the annual right up front, I'm going to send you this planner. I made it specifically for us. Raise your hand if you have ever thought you're going to have two planners. You're going to have a planner for school and you're going to have a planner for home, right? We can do this. We can do two planners. We can't. We cannot. I've tried. I failed multiple times at this. You write something in one and then you forget to write it in the other one and you're like, it's okay, I'll remember. But then you're missing meetings and deadlines for IEPs and you're forgetting to bring cookies to confirmation. Or you're late, you have the wrong practice time for a kid because you thought you could have two and you can't. It doesn't work. At least it doesn't for me. So I made us this new one that is both a life and a lesson planner. There's a full monthly overview page. It's undated, so you can start it at any time. It's got a 2-page spread for notes, keeping track of all the things. And then this page probably looks like most of the other planners that you have for lessons. You know, the days of the week, the areas on the side over here for you to put like first hour, second hour, or basic reading, advanced reading, things like that. But then it also has a 2-page spread for your life, for your out of school tasks and things and responsibilities and kid schedules. And you can have it all in one. And you just put that in your teacher bag and it goes with you wherever you're at. And then you don't have to mess up. You don't have to miss things. It's going to be so much better. And there's also something on page 2 or 3 of the planner that is a super secret special surprise that I'm not going to tell you about. It would just spoil it, but you're going to love it and it's going to help you smile every day when you look at it. So I'm going to send you this planner when you sign up for the whole year price. And there's more, right? There's the infomercial voice, but wait, there's more. I'm also going to send you a Word Nerd sweatshirt in your school colors because it's like the best Friday outfit ever. And we just want to shout out our Word Nerd love. So I will send you this in your school colors. And then finally, because I'm just so excited to share this and launch this with all of you, I'm giving the first 50 people who join $100 off. So instead of being $350 for the year, it'll be $250. Plus you get the planner, plus you get the sweatshirt. So really it's like down below $200 for all of this Word Nerd goodness. And I'm just so excited and I really hope that you come. So Kristen, if you would pretty please, Zoom Room Den Mother, drop that link in the chat box. Use the code FIRST50. Kristen will put that in there too, because that will give you the $100 off. Okay, I'm going to take questions here in a little bit, but real fast, there's some things that I think people are probably already wondering. So I'm going to clear those up ahead of time. So the first one might be, but like, Amanda, I already have a zillion subscriptions that I don't use. Am I really going to use this one? And I get that, like shiny objects and all the things. But I promise you will use this one. Number one, I'm going to keep it relevant and top of mind for you. You're not going to forget it because every month I'm going to send you that new calendar and you're going to go, oh yeah, I got this stuff. It's great. It's good to go. The other thing is that your students are going to ask for it. Okay. Once you start doing First Chapter Fridays, once you start doing brain breaks, they're going to remind you, hey, when are we doing another one of those? I have teachers message me almost weekly with those exact words. It's a 4-day week and my kids are worried we're not going to do First Chapter Friday. When are you making more brain breaks? Because we've done all of them and my kids want more. So even if you forget, they will remind you and I promise you they're going to love it and you're going to use it. How did you pick the content? Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think about 3 things. I think about timeliness. I think about engagement factor and I think about curriculum flow. So if there's current events, holidays, typical themes that are covered, I make sure to put those in the monthly calendar. Also, engagement and teacher relief are at the top of mind for anything I ever make. And then the curriculum flow, I know not everybody uses Common Core State Standards. But lots of us do. And there's a curriculum companion that shows how you could potentially lay out those standards that I know a lot of schools use as well. I know the district my kids go to does. And so I talked with our curriculum planner and I think that the things I've picked are already going to kind of line up with the units you have in place. So hopefully it'll be super easy to implement for you. Are the resources relevant and rigorous and will they connect to my curriculum? I have connected Common Core State Standards to as many of the activities as I can. All of the activities focus on critical thinking, applying the skills and interacting with the content rather than kids just passively floating through their school day. They're going to be getting their hands dirty and working with this stuff. And that means that it's going to stick with them because they're not just passively floating through the content. Also, I want you to view this as like not a complete curriculum, but it is a bank of activities and resources that are going to help your students master those foundational skills. And when they master those foundational skills, everything else is going to be easier, right? If you're looking for specific standards, these are specific standards that are covered in many of the activities. So you can check them off in your scope and sequence. You can feel good knowing that they are tied to standards. If that's something that your district keeps tabs on. And then who should join? You, obviously. Duh. I'd love to have you. But specifically, you should sign up if you're tired. If you need some help and you're tired of doing this alone. If you are looking to reinvigorate your lessons, yourself, your classroom, your students, or you're interested in experimenting with new to you strategies, this is a great opportunity for all of that. If you don't like to read, that doesn't make you a bad human, and it doesn't make you a bad teacher. If you don't love hanging out in Barnes and Noble and finding the newest, latest, and greatest books, that is just fine. It's okay. The thing is, though, that I do. I love doing that, and I love telling people what I think they should read next. So if you don't like to read, I can be your girl for that. I can tell you what you should read and what your students are going to love. And then finally, in districts that I've worked in, if you don't use your budget, you lose it. And that just seems stupid. That seems silly. So we should spend that money wisely. If you're tired of spending it on pencils and Post-it notes and things that don't last and things that don't make an impact in your room, this is going to be high quality, impactful way for you to spend those budget dollars. So, last question, can I join at any time? And I'm sorry to say that the answer is no. Today is the first day I'm opening it, and it's going to stay open until September 8th, because I figure that once y'all are in your lessons and doing your teacher thing, you'll have your blinders on and like no room or space for any new thoughts or ideas. So we're just going to do this early on, get you set up, and then we're gonna roll through the rest of the year together. So in conclusion, I want to help you feel satisfied with your job. I want to help you do your job and help you do it well, not just like get by each day. I want to help you make an impact in your classroom, and I want you to feel like you want to be in your classroom and help your students feel like they want to be in there too. And the bottom line is, I know that we do this job for our kids. We do it for our students because we want to make their lives better and we want to help them achieve great things. And so if you join the membership to help yourself, you're really doing it to help them. And just think of the impact we could make. Think of the better year that we could have if we do this together. This is a pressure-free situation. Please, if you don't want to buy, that's fine. That you do you, but I really do want you to take these things away with you tonight when you go. I want you to remember that the treasure's in the pleasure, and that if we edutain, our students can retain. If we can do things, if we can meet our students where they're at with something that they want, they will learn it, and they will learn it more effectively than they will do it if we stand up there and blab at them in a way that they are uninterested in. I also want you to remember my mom's advice: you can if you plan. We can do anything. And also life is way more fun with friends. And we can do it together. If you've been playing our game, I want you to DM me those green words, that message that you had. You can send it to me on Instagram, Facebook, email, anyway, tell me what the message is. And I also want you to tell me a little bit about your students. And I will respond to you with 5 books that I think you should add to your classroom library ASAP. A personalized reading list for you and your kiddos. So send those to me whenever. It doesn't have to be right now. So that's it. That's the whole spiel. This is everything that you will get. Access to the full Word Nerd site, the pre-planned monthly calendar, the monthly Zoom meeting with me, the author lunch bunch with the famous authors, all the friendships you're going to make in the private Facebook group. And if you do for the whole year, you're gonna get this paperback planner and the Word Nerd sweatshirts. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So I really hope you join me and all the other teachers who are already in the membership. There are a few of those $100 offs if you use the code first50. So hop on those right away. If you have questions, you can either put them in the chat or just like unmute yourself. We're just a small group here tonight, so let me know what you're thinking. And
I have a couple in the chat, Amanda. Kenzie is super excited and wants to know how she can send you her address for the planner and the size and colors for her sweatshirt.
Okay, so when you join, it's gonna auto send you an email with a Google form, and that Google form will ask you that information so that I can send you the things.
Perfect. So Kenzie, check your email. Kenzie also wants to know what time of day the lunch bunch will be with the authors.
Oh yeah, good question on that. So it's gonna be at 11:15 on the last Friday of every month, except for when there's like in December, right? When we're all on Christmas break. I'm gonna do some finagling there with that. So
yes, it'll be 11:15 Central Time.
Yep, 11:15 Central. And I know that like I couldn't pick a time that like everybody's lunch hour would be over. So I went with 11:15. It will be recorded, so if you can't show up, you will still get that recording. But I also figured it's one Friday a month, right? Like if a student decides to skip recess, or if you can't, like maybe you could like work with a co-teacher to try to cover some things or shift some things around, or maybe the librarian runs the lunch bunch and has and hosts that in their space. I was hoping that because it was only once a month, people would be able to be flexible and show up for that. But there will always be the recording if you can't.
That's all the questions we have in chat, but feel free to add more questions or to unmute and ask anything else that's on your mind.
Otherwise, y'all are free to go. Class dismissed. You stuck with me for over an hour. I'm super honored that you chose hanging out with us over the Olympics tonight. I personally watched gymnastics over my lunch hour, so I didn't have to miss it tonight. I won't say anything, no spoilers, but thank you. Thank you for coming tonight and hang out here and learning about this. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited for y'all to get in there and for us to work together. As soon as we're done here, I will email out that superhero introduction activity. But that's what I've got for you tonight.